Welcome back to another episode of Clash of Cultures. Today we're going to be talking about the most overrated and most underrated teams heading into the 2023 college football season. But before we get into any of the football discussion, as always, if you guys are returning viewers, thank you guys so much for your love and support, for sticking around with us. If you haven't already, hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss a single upload. New viewers, please take the time to just hit the subscribe button for us really quick. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Going to be doing another giveaway at that point. Giving away another signed jersey. We already gave away a Charlie Ward one in the TCU video, so be sure to check those out. We've done about 45 preview videos for programs throughout the country. We still have a little bit more to go before the season kicks off in about a month and a half. So please let us know in the discussion, or please let us know in the comment section down below. Any teams you guys want to see us do, any different kind of video ideas you guys have that you may want us to do. But before we get into any of the football talk, we're going to do another trivia. Today I have the trivia. My dad had the last trivia asking me about wins and stuff like that. That was a hard one, I thought. I feel like you got the hard trivia questions. I got the easy ones. But the first question is going to be, so first, the topic is rivalry game names.
Okay.
So I have 4 different rivalries in college football. We're going to start off from easy to hard. Okay. At least I think they're easy. Do you know what the Mississippi State Ole Miss rivalry game name is called? The rivalry name for that, the Mississippi schools.
Doesn't it got something like with egg in it?
Yes.
The Egg Bowl?
The Egg Bowl, you're right. The one for one. Look at that, boy. I'm proud of you. All right. Number 2. You may not know this one, but Clemson versus South Carolina.
This is it the Civil War as well?
No.
The Backyard Bash.
No. Bro, what? No, it's the Palmetto Bowl.
Oh, don't nobody know that.
You probably weren't going to get that. All right.
Clemson fans you didn't even know that until you looked it up.
Yes, I did. Anyways, the third one. Do you know what the USC versus UCLA game is called?
I feel like I know this. UCLA versus USC versus UCLA. Oh, I feel like I should know this. I don't know.
It's the Victory Bell.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But I looked it up. There's like the Victory Bell, and there's also like Battle for Los Angeles. They have a bunch of them, but I think
that's what I thought.
I think Victory Bell is the actual one though. But
okay,
the last one, I think you're gonna know this one. This might have been the easiest one, honestly.
The game.
Washington versus Washington State.
The Apple Bowl. Apple Cup or something like
that. Apple Cup. Yeah, I feel like that was the easiest one. But nonetheless, that was the trivia. What you were 2 for 4, not bad. Almost 3 for 4 with the UCLA one. The only one you didn't get was Clemson. But I was gonna do other ones, but some of them were too obvious, like the Oklahoma, Texas, the Ohio State, Michigan. So I tried to go with some
ones
teams.
I needed you to do because
I wanted to go with teams that you didn't really know. But nonetheless, like I said, today we're going to be talking about the most overrated and the most underrated teams. What do you want to start off with? Do you want to start with underrated or overrated? And we'll go tick for tack on each one.
Let's go overrated because my overrated. I think we're
okay. Wait. And before, so how many do you have per one?
I have 4 per.
Okay, me too. So let's go from like the 4th. Mine's not really in order, but the number ones that I put were, I guess, like that's the first name I thought of, obviously. So. Yeah. Let's go from your 4 to 1, or just do your number 4, and then I'll go so on and so forth. So so
my number 4 is UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio, and the reason being, not that I don't think they're going to win their conference, not that I don't think that they're going to have a really good record and they're going to do well in their conference. I don't think they can beat teams ranked below them. So if we're ranking based off the best teams, UTSA would not be one of the best teams. They're a team that's going to have a really good record based on the conference that they play in. But if they were in a Power 5 conference, they would not have that record. They'd be one of the worst teams in most Power 5 conferences. So I think they are overrated because, again, what's going to happen is they're probably going to have a good record. Then they're going to play some good team in a bowl, and they're going to get smashed.
So I have a question before I give mine. Do you feel the same way about Tulane?
Tulane's my number 3.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. Well, go ahead and explain why you have Tulane.
For the exact same reason. I think Tulane's going to have a good record. We did a preview video of them as well. I think, and let's just kind of go by proximity. Tulane being in Louisiana, New Orleans, you either go SEC or Big 12. In both of those conferences, I think they would be a bottom of the pack team, a bottom of the tier of the conference team. So it's hard because I know they're going to be ranked in the top 25, and they're probably going to maintain a top 25 ranking. But there's going to be a number of teams that I know that we're going to watch Saturday in and out. They're going to have worse records because they're playing teams in their conference that we all know are better than Tulane. Yes, Tulane pulled off the win against USC last year. I don't think they could do that week in and week out in a Power 5 conference. So, yeah, that's my number 3 team.
Okay. I'm not mad at that at all. So I'll give my number 4 and my number 3. So my number 4 is South Carolina. So
this is a hate.
Wait. So you guys, we're 6 minutes in. You hear this, right? You hear what he just said. Now make sure you guys know what I say next, and make sure that you guys stay tuned in the next 2 minutes. I think South Carolina is going to be an overrated team this year. I think they're probably going to hover right around the 25 mark heading into the season, 25 and 35 maybe. I think obviously they had a really good end to the season. They beat Clemson, they beat Tennessee, they hung in there with Notre Dame to the end. But I think they lost a lot. They lost obviously Jaheim Bell, they lost Cam Smith, and they have Rattler coming back. I just don't know how much they can replicate from the end of the season. Yes, they'll probably take in some momentum, but at the end of the day, they play in the SEC. I don't remember what their record was to finish the year last year. I think they probably had 5 or 6 losses, give or take, right around there, maybe 4. But I think they're going to be right around the same record as they were last year. And I don't think that gets you a top 25 nod unless you're taking down 2 top 5 teams at the end of the year, which I don't think they're going to do again. I don't think that's going to happen again. So they're my number 4 team. My number 3 team is Clemson. I think, yeah. So it's funny how you see, hey, y'all see how he reacted, right? Y'all see how he reacted. Y'all see all this. Y'all see all this memorabilia behind me. I'm a Clemson fan. I'm a diehard Clemson fan for 15 years now. I think Clemson is overrated coming into this year. And the reason being, I don't think we're a top 10 team. And I think they're going to have us right around top 10. Realistically, I think Clemson is between 15 and 20 based off of what they showed last year. Obviously, there was a lot of quarterback controversy last year. Rightfully so. You had DJ early, then you had Cade. They were mixing between the two in the Notre Dame game, all that good stuff. So I do think we're a better team this year, but I have to see it on paper. I mean, I have to see it on the field. On paper isn't going to do it for me. And like I said, I'm a diehard Clemson fan. So I'm being realistic. Fans that are watching this video, it's okay to be critical of your teams. The coaches are not going to text you and say you can't be a fan of us anymore. It's okay to be critical of your own team. They're not going to unfollow you on Twitter. Like, it's okay. So I think, like I said, Clemson is overrated heading into the year. Now, towards the end of the season, I might have a different outlook or different take on it. But I think right now they're overrated in the broad spectrum of college football. I don't think that we're a top 10 team. So that's why I have them on this list at number 3. But who's your number 2?
So for me at number 2, and you guys seen the preview video, so you kind of know how I feel about this. I have Alabama. Again, they lost Bryce Young. They've lost big pieces. They lost Gibbs in the backfield. They lost both safeties. They lost Will Anderson. The 2 players, Will Anderson and Bryce Young, that I think bailed them out of a lot of games. Let me say, all credit due to Nick Saban. All credit due to Alabama. I think they deserve to get the benefit of the doubt. I think Nick Saban has earned the benefit of the doubt. I think if you're not sure based off what he's bringing back, you can look at his resume and how he's recruited, and you assume that they're going to figure out the quarterback position, that Dallas Turner is going to be a great a rush linebacker, that they're going to figure out their safeties, that they're going to plug and play all of these positions. I think they have earned the right to be overrated. I just don't believe that this team, based off of what we know about them, is deserving of what we believe that rank is going to be. I think they may fall back a little bit. And when I say fall back for Alabama, Alabama at 9-3 is a horrible season. 10-2, which I think they were last year, that's the end of the world. That's the end of the world season. 9-3 would be the end of the world. So when I say fall back, I mean from not being in the playoff conversation late in the season. So we're talking about maybe a 2-loss season for them. But yeah, that's where I think Alabama's going to end up this year.
Okay, interesting you say that. My number 2 is their week 2 opponent, the Texas Longhorns. I think Texas is extremely overrated this year. The reason being, what have they shown us? Now, they obviously have talent on paper, but it's kind of the same thing as Clemson. It's like, are we just going off of name value because their school is named Texas? Yes, they have talent, but they lost their entire offense when Bijan Robinson. Now, I get they have Xavier Worthy, they have Quinn Ewers, they have a great offensive line, they're going to have a good defense. But at the end of the day, that sounds awfully eerie similar to Clemson, having all these great talent, these top picks, but you still can't get the job done. So I just think, as we've said so many times, time and time again, the Big 12 is wide open. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas finished 9-3 at all. I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't go to the Big 12 championship. And the reason why I'm saying they're overrated, I don't think many people have them winning the championship, but they're like top 6 in odds of winning it all. I
think many people, but I think just about everybody has them winning the Big 12.
Yeah, let me see something.
Yeah, I think a number of people have them winning the Big 12.
So according to, I'm just going to go off of FanDuel just because it's the first one that pops up. So Texas they're tied for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 7th best odds to win it all. And they're tied with Tennessee and Florida State. I trust Tennessee and Florida State way more than I trust Texas. And it's just because we haven't really seen Texas in a big time game in how many years? Like I don't mean
the Alabama game was big. Okay, you're talking about.
Okay, no, that was fair. That was fair. That was fair. That I would say that's the only game that I can remember that they're playing against another, quality playoff opponent. When everybody else on this list, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, LSU, USC, Clemson, Penn State, Tennessee, Florida State, Notre Dame, all of these teams play quality playoff opponents every single year. And if I'm not mistaken, everybody that I've named except USC and Penn State and Tennessee. So of the 10 favorites, 6 of them have all been to the playoffs. Tennessee was this close last year, and Penn State hasn't got over that hump. We know their situation being in the same division as Michigan and Ohio State. But I don't see how Texas can be penciled in as a quote-unquote playoff favorite when we haven't seen that from them ever. So I get it looks good on paper, but as a Clemson fan, like I said, that doesn't do anything for me. Seeing it on paper just simply does not do it. I need to see it on the field, and I'll be fine if I'm wrong. I have no problem coming back and saying I'm wrong if Texas makes the playoffs. But to me, they're the second most overrated team in college football.
All right, my most overrated team, and I'm sure you guys can probably guess this, again, by preview videos and things of that nature. I think the ranking is deserved because I think you win back-to-back national championships, you deserve to come into the next season number 1. But my next overrated team is Georgia. I think Georgia does not bring back the most talent, right? And I think we've talked about teams, Washington, Oregon, Michigan, that are returning more talent. I think they are going to be 1 or 2. And I think, again, back-to-back champions. We've seen Kirby Smart retool. I thought the same thing last year. They were able to go 15-0 last year. But they have lost over the last 2 years almost an entire defense of all NFL players. So can you just continue to fill those gaps? Beyond that, they lost Stetson Bennett, who I thought, while maybe not your prototypical NFL quarterback, just was a gamer. Made plays when they needed plays to be made, got them out of situations when they needed to be saved, and they won't have him. So when you look at the heart and soul of that team, Stetson Bennett, the heart and soul of that team, that defense, and the turnover they've had, just about every position, I think they're going to be worthy of the number 1 just simply based off of past resume. I just don't think this is the number 1 team returning in college football next year.
Yeah, I can see that. Comment section is going to grill you.
Because I went Alabama and Georgia. I bet you next, SEC.
Yeah, that's crazy. My number 1 overrated team is also an SEC team. Can you guess what my number 1 overrated team is?
I think you're going to say LSU.
It is not LSU. My number 1 overrated team is Texas A&M. So,
I'm surprised. Now you actually felt better about Texas A&M than I did.
So I feel good about them, but it's more so off of the optimism of Jimbo being a good coach and can he finally do it? Like, obviously a couple years back, either during the COVID year or like the year before that, he had a good year, like a 10-win season, I believe. But at the end of the day, you have so many good recruits. You should be competing. And
Yeah.
right now, ESPN FPI has them projected as the number 19 team coming into the country. I don't know how they could do that. Like, what has Texas A&M showed to pencil them in as a top 20 team in the SEC, nonetheless? And like I said, they haven't done anything of note in years. So it's especially last year losing to Appalachian State and having close games to all these other bad teams. Then when you are squeaking out wins, it's like I don't know. I think this team is the epitome of overrated because until they show you something, it's kind of the same conversation I had about Clemson and Texas. They have so much talent on paper, but you have to produce at the end of the day. I mean, having the talent on paper is not going to do anything for you because come week 4, if you're 2-2, your season's over when you're a powerhouse conference. I mean, powerhouse team. If you're 2-2, if you lose to Appalachian State in week 2, I mean, you might as well don't even play the rest of the season. There's no point to, because you've already lost your fan base at that point. So I think when you're talking about a team who has, like I said, championship aspirations, championship level coaching, I think, and you are a top 20 team coming into the season and you're losing to teams who are not Power 5, that's not okay. And you have a coach who won a national championship. So it's not like it's, Luke Fickell, or no disrespect to Luke Fickell, but Jimbo Fisher won a championship. So it's like Luke Fickell, yes, he was, a dominant coach at Cincinnati. But go ahead, yes, say something?
No, I'm listening.
Oh, he was a dominant coach at Cincinnati, but it wasn't like he was beating, the Clemsons, the Auburns, the Floridas. Jimbo showed that he can coach in the Power 5 at the Power 5 level and at the pinnacle of college football. So when you go to Texas A&M and get, top 4 recruiting classes for 3 or 4 straight years and don't make anything out of it, that's a problem. So that's why, for me, the number 1 overrated team in the country heading into the season. Now, Texas A&M fans, you might be mad about that. If you go watch the Texas A&M preview, I'm very high on A&M. I think they're going to be better. But I just think, again, I said my team is overrated. I think Texas A&M is overrated. Until they show me something, they're overrated. That's just what it comes down to. But moving into underrated team, more positive note, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
I'll go first. So my number 4 is Alabama. I think Alabama is underrated because I think so much is going into this quarterback, debacle and controversy that people fail to realize. I mean, just 7 years ago, they were just running the ball damn near every play. So
the Derrick Henry year.
Yeah, like and Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, TJ Yeldon. I can go on. The list goes on. I just think when you have a team like Alabama, a coach like Nick Saban, he's going to compete. So I think coming into this year, they're probably going to be right around number 5, maybe 5 or 6, between 4 through 6, I think. I mean, you got Michigan, Ohio State, and Georgia. They're probably going to be above them. LSU may be above them. So I think they're going to be right around that area of the rankings. I just think that's disrespectful. I don't think they should be number 1, but I think it should be number 2 or 3, just based off of Nick Saban. And yes, they lost the quarterback, but so did Ohio State. Ohio State lost their quarterback. Georgia lost their quarterback. So if we're just going off of they lost Bryce Young. Now, if you want to say they lost Will Anderson and we want to get technical, that's fine. But at the end of the day, almost every team in college football in the top 15 lost their quarterback. A handful that didn't. You have USC, you got Oregon, you got Oregon State, who's right around there. But every other Penn State.
Oregon State has a new quarterback.
Well, I'm sorry, not Oregon State. I meant Oregon. So you got Ohio State with a new quarterback, Georgia with a new quarterback, Alabama with a new quarterback, Clemson with a new quarterback, technically, Notre Dame with a new quarterback, Penn State with a new quarterback, Tennessee with a new quarterback. So all these teams have new quarterbacks. So, but the only team that we're talking about, oh my gosh, the quarterback is Alabama. And I get that there's 2 guys or 3 guys, if you want to say, that's kind of fighting for that spot. But at the end of the day, Alabama has had a perennial top 3 or 4 recruiting class the last 10 seasons. So I don't really think you need a 5-star, jumping out the gym kind of quarterback to get them over the hump. Blake Sims was not that. And they went to, conference championships, national championships. Greg McElroy wasn't that. Mac Jones really wasn't that. So these guys were like more so game managers. You don't need a Bryce Young or a Tua or even a Joe Burrow type quarterback to get you over the hump when you have such dominant players and talented players around you. So I just think that's it's getting way too talked about and kind of overlooked, and it's overshadowing the the grand scheme of the program. So that's why I have them at number 4. I'm not an Alabama fan. I hate Alabama, honestly. I'm a Clemson fan. So before you guys say that I'm on Alabama's nuts, that's not the case.
All right, my number 4 is Washington. I think we are underrating what Washington is bringing back. We talked about the receiving room, and we obviously did a whole Washington preview, so you guys can watch that. Michael Penix Jr. is legit. 4,600 yards last year, and I think he's only going to get better. That Washington defense is good, and I don't have them winning the Pac-12. And I may have them underranked. I may be disrespecting what they're bringing back because that receiving core, that defense, they have a great offense, a great defense. And I don't think many of us have them winning the Pac-12, between Oregon, USC. I think we kind of give the Blue Bloods the names. And I'm not saying Washington's not a name, but they're not at the same level as Oregon as USC. I don't think we give them the respect of the Oregons and USCs. So I think they may be being a little bit under not only underrated but underappreciated because I think Washington is going to make a lot more noise than even maybe I'm giving them credit for.
Okay, so my number 3 team is not Washington, but it's another Pac-12 team. We talked about them a bit a second ago, but I'm going to go DJU and Oregon State. The reason why they're my 3rd on this list, they were 10-3 last year. Either 10-3 or 10-4. No, they're 10-3. It had been 10-3. When you have a 10-win team in a Power 5 conference, and they're going to be around the 20 to 25 mark heading into the season, and they upgraded at almost every position, I don't see how they aren't ranked higher because Washington's probably going to be in the top 15 or so, right around there, 15. I categorize Washington and Clemson around the same mark right now, but I don't think they're going to have Oregon State anywhere near those 2 teams. And I think that's why I think they're under, same thing you said, underappreciated, underrated. I think they should be a little bit higher considering, like I said, they upgraded at the quarterback position. Their offensive line is back. Defensive side of the ball is pretty much still intact. You have a good coach. So, I mean, I think this team is underrated. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win the conference. That's not what I'm saying. I think they have a chance. I think they have a chance to upset some of the kind of playoff hopefuls out west. So I think this team had to be on this list for obvious reasons. So that's why they're in my number 3.
All right, at my number 3, I went with good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. I think a lot of people are making a big deal of Hendon Hooker, Tillman, Hyatt leaving. And I don't think, and I know Joe Milton is starting to get some YouTube love, some for his antics, but I don't think the rest of that team is getting the love that they should. I think they're bringing back a very good receiving core, Brew McCoy, Rumel Keaton, Squirrel White, and I think Joe Milton is going to be legit. I like this team, and I'm not going to say I don't think they're being given a chance in the SEC. As you guys all know, I picked them to win the East, but I don't think most people are picking them over Georgia's and Alabama's and LSU this year. And I suspect that they're going to be right in that fight. I suspect that this team is going to have a say in how the playoffs look.
I agree. They did not make my list, but those of you guys who watched the Heisman predictions that me and my dad did a couple weeks back, I had Joe Milton on there. And in the Tennessee video, I said a lot of good things about Joe Milton in Tennessee. I think that's our most viewed video on the channel. So if you guys haven't seen that, go check it out. I think it's at like 2,500 views. So go run that video up, check it out. But my number 2 underrated team is going to be Notre Dame. I think this team here, those of you guys who watched that video, Sam Hartman is going to get that team over the top. I think the only thing stopping them from going to the playoff this year, because I don't think they're going to go to the playoffs, is the fact that they play Clemson, USC, and Ohio State. Yeah. So now let me say this. If they somehow, some way win all 3 of those games and make the playoffs, that would be insane. Even if they win 2 of 3, I think it'll be pretty crazy. 11-1 with that schedule gets them in, I think. Depending on let's say they lose to Ohio State and Ohio State's undefeated, then they're 11-1. I think they get in. not having to play a conference championship game, obviously, especially with what happened last year and how the conference champions kind of got mixed up with TCU and Kansas State, all that good stuff. So I think Notre Dame's underrated. I don't think they're going to have them as a top 10 team coming into the season. I think they need to be a top 10 team. They brought back a lot. Obviously, they lost Michael Mayer, which is a hit. But I think, how can I put this? They lost Michael Mayer and replaced him with a tight end. But I think it offsets with the quarterback being brought in. I think with Sam Hartman coming in, I think it's a massive upgrade at quarterback. Yeah. I think the upgrade to Sam Hartman is a bigger impact than the loss of Michael Mayer, if that makes sense. And I think with Sam Hartman, the numbers he put up at Wake Forest, which is nowhere near the talent that he's going to have at Notre Dame, the weapons he's going to have there, the defense he's going to have there, the coaching he's going to have there, the culture. I think that in itself is going to elevate this team to championship caliber heights, championship level football. I think they're going to be at a New Year's Six game at minimum. I don't see them going anything less than 9-3. I think 9-3 is absolute worst case scenario, losing to the three teams that we talked about. But I mean, I think this team is scary. I think they're dangerous for all three of those teams. Like I said, everybody on their schedule should be worried when it's time to play Notre Dame. You guys saw what they did to Clemson last year. Like I said, I'm a Clemson fan, but they bullied us. They made us look like high school kids. So, I mean, I think this team they're always going to have a good defensive line. Obviously, they lost Isaiah Foskey, but they're always going to have a good defensive line, a good offensive line. And I think Sam Hartman is a top 5 quarterback in the country this year. So we'll just have to see how that works out. But they need to be on this list. They made number 2 for me.
Okay. I respect Notre Dame. And like you said, the tough part is that schedule. My number 2 team, right? I'm on number 2. Mm-hmm. is, and I'm not going to go deep into them because I think we'll probably do a preview video of them later. But the fact that we haven't even done a preview of them kind of speaks to, kind of where we put this team. My number 2 team is Duke. Duke is returning a lot, and I'm not sure if you guys seen it, but they are returning a lot. They're returning. I think they're top 2 receivers. They're starting quarterback. They're starting running back. A lot on defense. And they had a good year last year. Like I said, we will talk much more about Duke. I'm sure we'll at some point in time get around to them and do a preview video. But I think Duke is going to shock some people because they are bringing back so much from a team that was pretty good last year. That was a tough out last year. So like I said, more to come on Duke, but that's my number 2 underrated team.
Definitely an interesting pick. Those of you guys in the college football, I guess, YouTube community, if you guys watch Josh Pate, the Late Kick with Josh Pate, it's another college football YouTuber. He was doing what ifs. He has this YouTube series called What If. If you guys haven't checked him out, you guys should go check him out. I watch him almost every day. But Duke plays Clemson in week 1. And they play on Monday night. It's the only game, Monday night on ESPN. I'm looking at the kind of preview. Clemson's a 12-point favorite. With an 85% chance to win. I know with the ESPN analytics are all off, but the spread is 12 points Clemson's way. Duke has a really good team. I think the quarterback coming back for Duke is going to be really good. We'll talk about him in tomorrow's video. Obviously, we're doing ACC quarterbacks tomorrow. So cat's out of the bag there. We're ranking ACC quarterbacks tomorrow, so make sure you guys check that one out. But I think they're going to be really good. I don't think they beat Clemson in week 1, but I think they have a good season. But nonetheless, my number 1 underrated team in college football, we better have the same team. If we don't have the same team, I'm going to be pissed. Okay. My number 1 team, if you guys have been following the channel even for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you guys know where I'm going with this. You guys have to. My number 1 overrated team is the Utah Utes. Underrated, the Utah Utes.
This team, think about them, but that's a good call.
The reason why they're underrated, they've won the last 2 conference championships, and I think they have the 5th or 6th best odds to win it again this year. And they only lost a tight end and a corner, albeit they lost Dalton Kincaid, who was a big name tight end. But other than that, they got everybody back.
Well, Clark Phillips was
he was solid. He was solid as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think that like makes them like, oh, yep, they're done. Like I don't see that, especially when you look at every other team in the Pac-12. They lost significant pieces as well. So it's not like I don't understand that. And And again, we're talking about a team who just went back to back in the Pac-12. And I feel like they don't get nearly as much love as teams like Texas A&M, who haven't done anything. Like, I don't understand. So Utah right now, FPI is ranked at 15. And I'll name you a few teams that are nearby them. You have Ole Miss, TCU, Florida, and A&M. None of those teams, like, I feel like are on the same caliber as Utah. Now, I get TCU went to the playoff last year. We saw what happened to them against Georgia. And they always had question marks surrounding their team. Obviously, they beat Michigan, but they had a lot of question marks surrounding their team throughout the whole year. I feel like Utah is the most complete team. I know when we did their preview, I can't think of the numbers off the top of my head, but when we did their preview, they had like a top 20 rushing and passing offense, something crazy like that. They had like a top 10 defense. I think they had the best defense in the Pac-12. So I just think to not have them borderline, right around number 10, I think they should be rated higher than Clemson. Again, I'm a Clemson fan. They should be higher than Tennessee. They should be higher than Oklahoma. I think they should be higher than Penn State. Now that I think about that, who won the Penn State Utah game last year?
Oh, you talking about
the Rose Bowl?
I don't remember. Probably Utah.
I'll tell you right now. Penn State won by 2 touchdowns. Okay. So I would personally have Utah over them, just off the simple fact that they only lost the tight end in the corner, and Penn State's bringing in a whole other quarterback. So I think that's the reason why. And again, I think Utah is. I'm not kidding. This is going to sound crazy. This isn't a hot take, but you guys might look at me crazy for this. But the same way Georgia answers the questions of losing players and stuff like that, I feel like Utah's doing the same thing, just not at that level. I mean, obviously they're not winning championships. I mean, technically they are. They're winning conference championships. They're not winning national championships. But I mean, the first year everybody thought it was a fluke. Then they come back again and do it again. So,
well, and their coach Whittingham has been there like 20 years or something.
Yeah, so I think like when you look at a team like that, at what point is it going to stop? To where it's like, okay, they have become the sort of standard out west. Now I get you still got the Oregons, the USCs, and stuff like that. So it's always going to be competition. I mean, USC is leaving after this year, but I just feel like you have to respect them at some point. And those of you guys who saw the Utah video, I'm very high on them, and I think they get disrespected heavily.
All right. My last underrated team is, and I just didn't think about Utah, but is Maryland. I think Maryland is bringing back some guys. Now we have
to do it. Not an interview. We have to do a preview for them as well.
Yeah. And I'm not going to go deep into Maryland, but bringing back, obviously, their starting quarterback, starting running back, number 1 receiver, bringing back some players on defense. Like I said, we'll save a lot of that for the preview video. But they're bringing back some guys. They're bringing back a 3,000-yard passer, a 1,000-yard rusher, and their number 1 receiver. Again, so they're bringing back some guys. I don't want to go too deep. You'll see a preview video for Maryland at some point. But yeah, I think Maryland is going to. You remember they gave Ohio State all that we could take last year, and I suspect that they are going to end the season as a ranked team.
Yeah, I could see that happening as well. They have a very tough schedule. Like I said, we'll get into that though. But as always, thank you guys for sticking around with this. This is a longer video than normal. But this was a fun one, talking about the most overrated and underrated teams. And it's going to be fun to go back at the end of the year and see where we were wrong, see where we were right. Did you have something to say?
Yeah. I had some honorable mentions.
Bro, come
Campbell,
on, bro.
Camels. They're underrated. We're not showing them no love.
You don't even know the other team's name.
Tartanian, Tartaluga.
No,
we're not showing them no love. They're much better than people think. So if you're a Campbell fan, they were on my honorable mention to the honorable mention list. I just want y'all to know.
But like I said, as always, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe, hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss an upload. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the top 5 ACC quarterbacks. So make sure you guys show us some love there. And as well, down below, tell us your most overrated and your most underrated team for this year. And we will see you guys in the comment section. But until next time.
Go Camels. That's my Camel too. Go Camels.
Shut the hell up, dude.